Okay.
Wave at you.
Well, we got to call the special session meeting to order, right?
Yep.
Over there, yes.
Oh, yeah. All right. I'd like to call the meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Trustees Hebda,
Here?
Cook,
Here.
Markwart,
Here.
Schultz,
Present.
Schwartz,
Here.
Williams,
Here.
Mayor Byrne.
Here. Would everybody please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? We have a quorum. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. I guess we'll, do I need to call out do any citizens wish to address the board? Other than what's on this agenda? Because if it's on this agenda, you're going to have speaking parts.
Oh, there we go.
If you know, you can speak. Okay, whatever. All right, YMCA building operations.
I have my light on.
Oh, already, okay. Oh, yeah. Trustee Kenny, Trustee Hebda. Oh, my God.
That's appropriate. In discussion with our village attorney, unfortunately, tonight, before we discuss this matter, between Park Board, YMCA Board, YMCA members, I'm going to let the residents know that I have to recuse myself from discussion in this because I am currently employed by the Park District as a preschool teacher, and there's a potential that the Park District could run a early childhood program over there. I think it's in the best interest that I do not, discuss the issue. I'll listen. I'm not going to leave the dais, but I am going to listen. And I think, basically the programs are so closely related that I don't want to have everyone see any improprieties that are going on here. So I'm going to recuse myself from discussion and just listen.
Okay. All right. Well, we all have the same agenda, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, so the first item is YMCA building operations, the pool. Who's going to speak to this one?
Jeff, you wanna-
Jump in.
we're going to share a couple of these things.
Yeah, okay.
What?
Yeah.
This doesn't say, this just says.
Hopefully everybody's got information in their packets. We've had several meetings now with the YMCA staff, primarily Hal Katz and Jim Maleka, and we've received several.
Let me mention to, I'm sorry, after attachment D, because Jeff and I kind of did this on the fly, so after attachment D, there's a summary that Jeff did. So if you keep flipping through this thing I put at your places.
You said G though.
Sorry about the,
D or G?
D.
after D is in David.
David?
Yeah, right after that, the next page, it's titled YMCA Lakeview Road Building Review.
Has everybody found that okay?
Did you say D?
D.
After D, right after D, next page.
It has no letter.
Correct.
All right.
I see
So what we've done, besides receive some of the financial information on just the operations of the aquatic component of the facility, is we had some of our staff meet with some of the one of the Y staff members, and we also brought in Terry LeBeau and Steve Grammer, who work for Halogen Supply Company. They do a lot of, they specialize in aquatic systems, and they do a lot of work up in Lake County. And they did a quick study and analysis just this morning, looking at the mechanical room, the roof, the boiler room, and then they also had some other ancillary items that they took an assessment on. And so that information is before you. Obviously, we've got no numbers tied to that in terms of some of the things that we feel we need to address. You see some of the chemical feed controllers they're current, but some of the sanitation chemicals are outdated. So those would need to be replaced. There's in the roof and the HVAC, there's a unit compressor that needs replacement. And so that's about an $8,000 to $10,000 figure we know going into it. But the rest of the items, you know, in terms of just the exterior of the building and some of the interior that we were able to assess are in pretty good standard. We do know, in speaking with the Y staff, that just a couple years ago, they did a major capital improvement on replacing the entire HVAC system, the dehumidification system in the aquatic center. So that's in pretty good shape. We also know that, in just our assessment today, that the steam room area's got some matters that are going to require some attention, but we also know that the Y had that on their radar for next year in terms of a capital improvement in that particular component of the facility. So we know that that's going to be something fairly significant that we're going to have to attend to as well. Other than that, you know, that functions pretty well, the aquatic entity. We were able to speak with one of the staff members there that oversees the swim team program. It's a solid program that they have in place, and she's done a tremendous job in moving that program forward. And another nice thing that component with that is the majority, and a vast majority, 90+% of the kids in that program are Vernon Hills kids. And there's well over 100 kids in that program. So that's, you know, just a real bonus, I think, for us to be involved with on that side. So that's kind of it on the pool side of things. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
You know, well, just a general question on the pool itself. I mean, was the, I guess the rehab pool or the exercise pool, was that evaluated also, or, you know, you could swim against the current?
No, I don't think there's nothing in there that exists on that, Mayor, that I'm aware of. No, there's a,
The hot
There's a-
tub has a component, it's a large hot tub,
Yeah.
and on the one side, there's a 4-foot deep
Yeah.
therapeutic tub, but it's not a swim against the,
Oh, okay. I thought it was the other way around.
Yeah.
Okay,
It's a
fine.
therapy pool in the hot tub, but it's not, there's no current, it is attached to the hot tub area.
Okay, all right.
okay,
So that was all included in this?
yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, I mean, what is the, I guess the maintenance expense associated with the pool and, you know, the big hot tub?
It's costly. It's the largest.
What-
We're still looking at those numbers, Mayor, and trying to get a better handle on just how that's going to map out. We just received tonight, just before the meeting, just an overall P&L, so we get a better understanding, and we haven't had a chance to review it.
Right.
Mike's got a copy of that. It's a 17-page document that I'm sure he can distribute to the rest of the board
Okay.
for your review, but we've still got to get a little bit better handle on that.
All right. Okay. Who is this? Bob? Is this you, Bob?
Yes, it is me. I just wanted to
Bob,
acknowledge
yeah.
that another one of the Park District Commissioners has arrived, so that
Oh.
the Park District,
if I could beg the village's indulgence, Commissioner Robbins has just arrived, and with that, we will have a quorum so with that, I would like to call to order the joint meeting between the Park Board, the Vernon Hills Park Board Commissioners, and the Village of Vernon Hills. It is 7:15, and Jeff, could we have a roll call, please?
Commissioner Baloo?
Present.
Commissioner Moline? Commissioner Kessler? Commissioner Robbins? President Durhofer?
Here, we have a quorum. Thank you.
Okay. So there, all right, there's no other comments or questions on the pool? All right.
Yeah.
One question.
Oh,
Jeff, do you know
all
when
right.
we're going to have that information? You said we don't have the information now on what that is going to cost. Do you know when we're going to have that?
Well,
Ballpark.
until we can get a chance, staff can get a chance to review it, we just got the documents within the last hour, so it's going to, give us at least 24 to 48 hours before we can dissect it and then provide at least some kind of recommendation to the park board. And I'm sure, Mike, I don't want to speak on your behalf, but you'd have to do the same thing.
All right. Okay, trustee Williams?
Yes. In this memo memo I received today, where's this from? It's from Chuck to Mike Allison. It mentions the equipment bonding grid conductor for the swimming pool equipment has been disconnected from several of the pool motors. And this is a serious life safety violation of the National Electrical Code. Do you know anything about that one?
Yeah, we're actually going to be bringing out Umden Stock Electric tomorrow and have them do a walkthrough with our staff just to kind of find out exactly what they're talking about on that, and also do just an electrical analysis for us as well on the facility, so we're making sure that, we're meeting all the standards of the code. Obviously, any life safety issues that are relative to what's presented before you on that issue.
It's a ground fault.
Not having seen it, I really couldn't answer exactly what that is.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Okay. If there's no other questions on the pool, let's go to the topic of daycare center.
Okay, I'll keep moving on that. We had a chance also to visit the daycare facility, meet with their daycare director. Everything within the daycare facility on our end looks in good working condition and is in good shape. Very clean, very friendly, very open atmosphere. So all is well on our end in terms of just the process of walking through the daycare facility. We will say just one thing, and that kind of gets into a little bit of the, we'll talk a little bit more when we get into the condition of some of the building just through our assessment. If you don't mind, Mayor, I'd like to just jump to the fitness center if anybody has any other questions.
Well, basically, the daycare center is compliant and
Sure.
well-maintained and so on and so forth.
Yeah, and that's, it's a DCFS, managed and certified facility. They were there visiting recently, and everything was in compliance on their end, so there's nothing to be, from our perspective, to be concerned about there. DCFS visited within the last 10 days.
Okay.
Okay. All right, so you want to go to fitness center?
Sure.
Okay.
Again, there, the facility, the one thing we found was just, and this is just the staff, is just some ADA issues where some of the machines were not compliant. You have to leave a certain amount of space between treadmills and some of the other, and they were kind of one on top of the other, so it was a spacing issue, and that's something that, needs to be addressed. We had a couple people attend our meeting last evening and, made some claims of maybe some overcrowding at times. It is, when you've got potentially 1,100 members that they have in a 4,000 square foot room, and you've got free weights and cardio and strength training, and it can be a pretty tight space. So that was really our assessment of the area. It was kind of tight, and we know that the Y has had that, that issue brought to their attention in the past as well. As you know, there's opportunity to go south on that building a little bit. If you needed to ever do any kind of an expansion, there's room to do that. Or is that east? I'm not sure. But there is room to potentially expand that site if necessary. Any
Okay.
questions on that?
Any comments or questions on that? So you're saying the fitness center is about 4,000 square feet?
Yeah, it's right at 4,000.
And maybe just a comment, the park board and Jeff probably aren't at a point to be able to answer this, but one of the issues, of course, is this is a threshold issue, the whole idea of operating these uses in that building. So if you get past this, then the rest of the topics flow, but if you say that it's not feasible to operate, then it doesn't make any sense to discuss this all. So I just kind of point that out. And again, it's, we're scrambling here to address a time frame, so we don't have all the answers, certainly. So,
So,
what does that mean?
oh, no,
I'm
no,
not sure.
I mean, no, I'm gonna ask, you know, Hal back there, does anybody step forward with a big check? Okay. Okay. All right. Okay, well, building and equipment condition, attachment A, roof.
Yeah. The mayor and everyone, the first item in attachment A was our inspectors went out along with the inspector from the fire district, and we've talked to the park district, of course, too, and they listed a number of items. One of them trustee Williams pointed out. Probably the biggest one, it appears expense-wise, could be the roof. And Jeff, his people found the same thing, and it appears that there's some major problems with the roof. So, you know, just, and please, this is very much ballparking it, perhaps a new roof would be $200,000 plus. And there's, Chuck Kaminga noted some, our inspector, some separation between the parapet wall and the soffit and water getting in back into the wall. And so there's going to be some issues that need to be explored to determine just how expensive that might be to repair. So that's the roof.
Oh, yeah, trustee Schultz.
Is that EPDM or is it Hypalon? It really doesn't matter. It's a single-ply rubber roof, right?
Yeah, it's a rubber
Yeah.
Membrane.
So
membrane roof.
those roof systems are to be maintained on an annual basis. Does anyone know if the Y has committed funds each year? Because there's supposed to be a professional inspection and annual maintenance. With that, you should get 25 years out of that roof. So you're at 12, so you should be at the halfway point. I guess the point I'm making is that the rubber itself has not become friable, so to speak, or it shouldn't have. It should still be tight, but there may be substantial leaks in the roof deck from burning when they attach the roof deck to the steel structure, or just water getting in there. So that before you go thinking it's a full-blown tear-off, re-roof, you might be looking at maybe a quarter or less of that total cost to do a repair that will get you another 6 years plus on that roof system. So we need a lot more research on that. But with that being said, though, the high end could be as high. It's 40,000 square feet. Yeah, and at $5 a square, that's relatively in the neighborhood. So
Yeah.
we're in the high 100s to 200,000.
I was using that as part of my negotiating position.
Yeah.
Just, you know, so.
Well, right now,
But now it's out in the open.
well, no, but right now with the roof in the state of decay, benign neglect decay, that definitely diminishes the value of that building. That's all I need to say, I guess.
Yeah, okay. Is there a banker in the room tonight? Huh? No?
Not to my
There's no
knowledge.
representation from the bank here tonight, right? Oh, no, from our bank, no. Okay. Okay. We'll have to send them the tape, right? And just, okay. All right, HVAC.
I think generally we found it to be adequate. Again, all the, a cautionary note, this was both of our groups going in for several hours. This isn't digging into the, drilling down to the details. So we may very well find out, and as Trustee Schultz said, the roof could be more or less of a problem. Same thing with HVAC.
Yeah, our evaluation was mainly on the aquatic system in terms of HVAC, that we put that addendum in your packets of what we found. Mainly just a compressor.
All right, so there's a certain redundancy on this agenda?
Well, Mike put it
initially-
together, so I don't know.
Right.
Okay.
Can't find on one page.
So
we didn't.
don't ask any questions on the pool either?
I think we hit that already, Mayor.
Okay, so we got that
Well, I was doing the pool, the separate was their ability to operate the pool, and what revenue would be
Cost them.
gained
All
from
right,
that
so-
versus what condition physically the pool was.
Is anybody speaking, I mean, do you have numbers to explain to us on the pool?
No,
Oh.
because, you know, it's something we should be aware of, but again, we haven't drilled down to
Well,
those kind of
does
details.
anybody representing the Y tonight want to
speak?
speak to that, or is this premature? There shouldn't be anything premature, but in
Yeah.
all honesty, since, you know, this is kind of like the Titanic, you know?
Just say that our pool is maintained annually. We just finished a shutdown and repair. That does not mean that there's not something you found that might need to be fixed. But I can't speak to any specifics of that.
Yeah, and then, I know somebody brought this up in some other, probably form. The filters are up to standard, the
The
drains and, as opposed to the problems all the high schools had.
Yeah.
Yours is
Virginia
been,
Graham Baker compliant?
They all have been replaced and are now in compliance with the new law that went into effect.
A year ago.
okay.
The
Where's the mic? Is there a portable mic up here?
Yeah, right there.
Why don't,
Jim, if you wanna,
you don't have to
Grab it.
keep coming up, but just take the mic with you. In the event Hal wants to say something.
BGB, because they're in compliance.
Okay.
They're in full compliance.
Anything else on this particular topic / pool? Okay, general maintenance of, I guess, the whole facility, huh?
and potential change.
And
But the-
who, pray tell, is going to speak to this agenda item? Maintenance, Mike.
Well, I don't know.
Give me your good here.
Yeah, well, we've got,
Maintenance.
We're
we-
tag teaming.
yeah, we're tag team on this. We still got to do, what we'd like to do is just an ADA audit on the facility, just to make sure. We know that the front entryway has some compliance issues that need to be addressed with some of the doors. We also know that within the whirlpool area, I know that they were planning on some capital improvements with ADA issues within the whirlpool area. But from what we've viewed, just again through our quick walkthrough, everything else seemed to be in pretty good shape. But I'd feel more comfortable about bringing in somebody that specializes in these audits and providing that. And I think we could get somebody out there pretty quickly and get that done with a walkthrough pretty quickly. So those are just a couple of quick things that we noticed. And, doors are, a couple doors are going to run you $2,500 a piece to get that in compliance. I'm not sure, Jim or Hal, on the Whirlpool, I know there was an allocation for some capital in there
Was
to
that
bring,
like a
portable
elevator?
I think they have a lift on the deck in the aquatic. I think that's already,
Oh,
Yeah, you're still, even without it, with the lap lanes, you're still gonna need an accessible chair. Yeah, so that's something that would have to be added,
We had
a
allocated.
lift.
I wanna
Go ahead.
interrupt.
Yeah, the locker
Al,
rooms all,
Jeff?
I was just going to say, we had allocated $4,000 for the whirlpool area to bring
Okay.
it up to compliance.
just railings or something, lift, okay. The locker rooms, I'm assuming, are all compliant, again, not having somebody that specializes in it just walk through it. It looked like, the lockers were accessible, the walkways were all accessible. But we will need to put a lift. That's a new requirement in the pool, and those are about $6,000 to $8,000 to put one of those on the deck.
Okay.
Otherwise, the general maintenance around the building, parking lot's in great shape, the landscaping's in good shape, the playground outside is in good shape, the care and maintenance around the exterior of the building is in good shape. So overall, we're pretty pleased from just, the aesthetic standpoint on our review.
All right, so any comments or questions on anything under the Y building operations and the Y building and equipment conditions? Because next is the term sheet for purchase. Attachment B.
And Mayor, if I can, I had drafted a term sheet merely for the purpose of getting some items for discussion, and much of these are really contract-related type provisions that we probably should be meeting in closed session on while we determine what we're going to do with those, shall we say, purchase agreement issues. So I'm not sure we're prepared to have an open discussion of those topics, but certainly that was intended to guide our conversation in closed session.
Okay, well, do we need to adjourn to closed session at this point then?
Well, I guess the question is there any information that anybody from the village board or park board can think of that they need operationally? Are there questions about, more detailed questions about the pool operation or the daycare operation? What significance do those programs have to your decision-making process?
Why, do we have numbers on salaries and number of people employed at this particular facility and so on and so forth?
Fixed and semi-fixed.
Yeah, we just got those tonight.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Well,
so-
yeah, sitting here, I can't speed read, but I could try.
It's not even here.
Oh, it's not here.
Literally, it got here 10
No,
minutes
but
before we walked
I know,
over.
but, okay, so, all right.
It's not even in this packet.
Oh, it's not?
No.
Oh, okay.
So it sounds to me like all the financial issues, we still have a lot more information to get, either direct financial information or inspections, so that they can generate some anticipated costs.
So, okay, they're looking for help, but they're not sharing enough. Is that kind
Well, I
of
don't know
the
that,
bottom line?
I wouldn't say that the Y is not sharing enough.
Or
It's
is
just,
the
we've got to
board
get our,
hasn't given them guidance and direction on what to do?
well, I think,
I'm talking to you, and somebody should be responding. Hal, you want to respond to that? I mean,
Sure, we're
we're not going to
received,
pull the trigger on anything tonight if we're not satisfied that we have enough information. So I
We-
can make this a real quick meeting,
we've hopefully provided all the information that's been requested. The process is dynamic in the sense that we provide information and more questions come out of that, and then we go and get the
But
information.
the information wasn't presented for the people up here to review it.
Well-
Before tonight. I mean, if this was just dropped in front of me, it's an issue, right?
Well, I mean, we didn't put together the information that's in front of you, so I can't
Oh,
comment
okay.
on what's there.
Well, who did?
Well, but
So none of this is pertaining to the Y operations here?
It's probably synthesized from information we provided.
Well,
Anybody want to speak to that one?
Yeah,
Yeah, okay, Mike,
Yeah.
go ahead.
well, no, Jeff just received it. He just said it 10 minutes ago.
Yeah, I
that
know.
He just received
Well,
it
so what are
tonight.
supposed
We
to-
haven't had
All
a
right,
chance
so
to
how
analyze
far are we
it,
supposed to go
so-
tonight? I mean, you know.
Well, let me state it right now. We're rushing into this, so because of timeframes that have been dictated to us. So do we have the information you should have to make a decision? In my opinion, no, you
Okay,
don't.
well, then that's,
So, but on the other hand, we need to, if one wants to proceed with this, you need to discuss this some more with the very lack of information that you don't, that you don't possess the information you really need to make a good decision at this point. Hopefully, by such time as, if that's your desire, that we get to closer to the closing, then we'll have information that can identify all those issues with the roof, and the Park District can be comfortable with the operational piece of it, because that's their piece of it. They have to be satisfied with that. We're not gonna.
If I could make a comment, what's typical in these types of transactions is that one puts in a conditional offer, and the primary condition is you have a chance to review all the information, you have a chance to conduct all the inspections that you want to conduct, and if for any reason what you find is not satisfactory, the agreement that we enter into will accommodate those concerns, whether that means you have the ability to walk away, whether it extends the due diligence period. Those are things to be agreed upon. So I wouldn't expect that the village or the Park District could get fully up to speed on the condition of the building nor the operating performance of the building in such a short amount of time. That being said, we, as the YMCA, obviously have some very critical time constraints. Our board has announced a close October 31st. We know that from the Village and Park District's perspective, they would very much like us to stay open past that date. It's a big part of what's attractive, and that's part of the reason why this discussion is moving along, or we're trying to move it along as quickly as we can. But going back to what I first said, we are happy to provide all the information. I hope we've given Jeff and Mike the information, and now it's just a matter of really, going over it and analyzing it and being able to present, what's salient to the folks sitting around the table here.
has Larry digested it yet? Maybe we can move on.
no.
I have not been looking at it from the operational point of view. I think that was, the Park District is evaluating.
I just want to know if you had time to read through this stuff sitting here on the dais at 7 o'clock.
Oh, no.
Okay, trustee Schultz?
From my perspective, we're looking at three things here. Number one, the Park District needs to develop a pro forma based on whatever they can extract out of the Y's number and with the blessing of the Y, and not blessing by approving it, but saying, yeah, this is reasonably what is going on and what you can expect. With that pro forma, then they can make a decision whether or not they can successfully operate or not operate. So that needs to be ongoing, and apparently you just got some key information just a short while ago. So from that perspective, we can't really go forward with making a direct offer to purchase the building tonight because we still have too many loopholes, I believe. However, as Mr. Katz indicated, we can in fact create a letter of intent / term sheet in our closed session here, negotiating amongst ourselves the salient details of how we wish to go forward. And we can prepare it up to the extent of issuing it. The only way I would issue it tonight without the Park District giving me a yay or nay would be that there is so many escape clauses in there that Harry Houdini would be proud of it, that there is really no tangible commitment other than the fact that we are interested in purchasing that property. But until I get a yay or nay from the Park District based on their pro forma that they need to still develop, it
So
probably
the
is.
term sheet is tantamount to like a subpoena and then subsequent interrogatories that they're gonna give us all the information we need?
Interrogatories to follow?
You know what I mean? I understand, okay, so we do the term sheet, then we get access to everything?
Well, I don't even think it's at that stage yet, but, or we're in that, I don't think we're at loggerheads with the Y. I just think that things are going so fast, we haven't had a chance to figure out exactly what we need and how to get it. So maybe the thing to do, unless there's general questions, is for the two boards to go into closed session and discuss the possible purchase, discuss the elements of a contract, discuss some information we might need. If the YMCA would stay, we might call them into the closed session because they might be able to interpret some of these numbers better than we are, that would provide some meat on the bones to answers to our questions that come to us, as opposed to,
You know, I guess, okay, what we're really looking for here is forbearance from the bank.
Ultimately, yes. What we're looking for is, one, an expression of interest from the village and/or park district. We're looking for, in effect, a plan of how we could work together in the village and park district in tandem, acquiring the facility, and there being sufficient confidence from our board's perspective to go to our bank and say, here's what we want to do. You know, we'd like for you to not take action while this process occurs.
Okay. And the ability, I mean, obviously you're going to operate through the 21st of November, but at that point, is there sufficient, I guess, incoming revenue or revenue from your kind of reserve fund that could continue to pay your people, not ours, because, you know, we're not even engaged yet, but maybe this term sheet will give us, you know, an engagement or somewhat of a commitment. But what happens, you know, if we're still, you know, negotiating come the 21st of November?
Well, the idea would
With
be...
the families, you know, that have their kids in daycare.
Right. My understanding is that this conversation, your interest is predicated on us staying open beyond October 31st. October 31st is presently the date on which our board has announced all membership services would cease. Childcare would continue on through November 21st, as you mentioned. However, by ending the membership services, it somewhat defeats the purpose of this discussion and interest from the Park District.
Hal, doesn't your child care is paid on a monthly basis?
Yes.
Okay, so anybody who's planning on being there through the end of November, with you closing down the 21st, their SOL come the 21st. So it's in their best interest for their children to get into another program November 1st to make sure they're covered for the month of November. So essentially, we can talk about November 21st for childcare. The reality is, November 1st, if I've got a kid in that program, I'm moving them out now because I'm not going to have anywhere to go at the end of the month.
Right.
So we're talking October 31st for everything right now. We're going 90 miles an hour. We had a chance to meet last night with the Y, and they've been, you know, very forthcoming about the information we get. The problem is, as we get information, that information spurns 20 more questions.
Right.
So
Well, I'm sure. Whose light is this? Cook?
Yeah.
Trustee Cook.
Dovetailing on that same question, one of my questions was for the Park District. How much is the Park District going to be reliant on programs carrying over as a base for the income in the operation? How many programs are so Y-specific that they have to move in order to keep the program going, like some of the competitive, competitive swimming or that if they compete against Ys, would they be able to stay? I mean, are those numbers important to the Park District? And at the same time, are any of those programs that could be, somehow grandfathered or that?
Those programs are critical. Without the people, the building's great, but without the membership, without the taking care of the Vernon Hills residents,
Well,
it's a
do we have any idea of what percentage of it is just so Y-specific that whether, that it would have to move?
They would have to move.
I mean, have to go to another Y to be it?
Technically, nothing that they're doing currently would have to go to another Y. We could take over 100% of their operation. Okay. Now, Jeff, the question has come up on, Hal, you do some things about swimming with special needs individuals and some of that.
And some competitive stuff, too, that,
Competitive stuff we already are aware of and happy to take that on. The special needs individuals, can you give us a little more detail on that, please?
The special needs program runs on Fridays. It's for children ages 3 through teenage.
Excuse me, ma'am, could you identify yourself?
Sure, I'm Jacqueline Kling. I'm the Health and Wellness Coordinator, Volunteer Coordinator, and Rental Event Coordinator at the YMCA.
Thank you.
So the program is run by a volunteer speech therapist in the community, and she has different lifeguards and different swim instructors that are one-on-one with these kids, and we offer the rate for these special needs programs at a member rate for everyone. So it's not a specific team or anything, it's just swim lessons for special needs children.
Every Friday throughout the year during the day?
Every Friday. Typically, it runs, the swim program runs on sessions. I think they go by 7-week sessions, and there are some sessions where they break in between, but it is a very successful program, I do know that.
and those kinds of programs then would have no problem rolling over to a new operator of the facility?
Not, that it's not YMCA attached.
Okay.
Commissioner Rob?
Thank you. We were issued some financial statement numbers, and one of the sheets that we were given, we were told last night that they do get an audit every year, so we have a 3-year comparison, and I have done some analyzing some of the numbers, and the expenses are what they are. Basically, there's 3 categories: salaries and benefits, occupancy, and interest make up 85% of the cost. But what I'm concerned is, if the Park District, does go forward, is I don't know what kind of income, we want to get into this and have a viable business. And I'm just concerned with the October 31st date being so imminent. What kind of income are we going to have after the 31st? How many members are still going to be there? What kind of child care income is still going to be there? And these numbers are obviously extremely important. What kind of revenue are we going to have so that we can meet the expenses and when we come up with the allocation of the expenses?
Sure, I'll answer that. Each day is more critical if we don't if our board doesn't make a decision to change the date based upon the fact we have a viable interest in buying in the facility. Part of what Hal and I are attempting to do, along with you folks, and I think you've moved very quickly, and we really appreciate that. One of the things we'd really like to be able to do is go back with something to our board that would warrant them going to the bank or making a decision to keep this YMCA open longer, so that we do not lose any more of the memberships, that we don't lose any more of the child care. If we feel this might take 3 months or 4 months to solve and to get closed, we would like our board to be able to go back and say, we will consider staying open that long and possibly make that announcement to the public.
Can I make just an observation is, John Q. Public up here. I mean, would we be should we have your board in this room to ask questions of them? I mean, we're two boards, and there's a board that governs your whole operations. I mean, I'd be happy to, like, you know, continue this meeting till tomorrow night to bring your board in, or, you know, those bodies, because if this is of such critical importance and urgency, you know, I'd like to see the face of the people that are gonna vote on it, one way or the other, besides us.
And allow.
So why don't you, you know, yeah, I mean, you know, sometimes you know, the obvious jumps out in my dreams, so where are they? You know what I mean, seriously, because now you guys gotta go back and blah, 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 and, you know, I mean, there's gonna be something lost in the interpretation, you know, it's like, you know, somebody telling the story, I tell a story to Barb, and by the time it gets down to Schultz, the facts have changed, and it's a better story, I'm sure, you know. Yeah, you know, like the old Johnny Carson skit, you know. So, I mean, I'll be, you know, I'll be glad to come back here another night this week. Are we? Oh, we're gonna be here Thursday? What do we got going on Thursday? Oh, yeah, I don't care. What I'm saying is, I don't know. You guys are nice guys, but you're,
And
you know, hired guns, you know.
Sure, and the board has charged Jim and myself with working through a process whereby we can give them something that they really can vote on. And we're very mindful of the fact that, you know, obviously the more people from our board that we try to get together and organize and weigh in on the topic before we really, Jim and I, have a chance to refine everything with you, it's going to slow down the process from our perspective. So
Really?
we're happy to bring the board here. You know, again, we're happy to provide all the information you need. Jim and I wouldn't be representing what we've said tonight without having explicit direction from the board.
Okay, I mean, if nobody, yeah, all right, whatever. Is this trustee Robbins again? Council?
The question that I have is, what polling have you done of your membership thus far, and what commitments do you have from members to essentially stand still while we try to work through this process, so we have some idea of what your members are thinking in terms of where they would like to be?
I don't think, you know, you can, well, we certainly could poll people. I don't think you could rely on them to make a decision whether or not this is a viable possibility. I think most of the members at our facility would tell you that they're there, some because of the location, some because of the amenities, and some because it's a YMCA. You know, that being said, what impact would the Park District have if it were to become the operator of the YMCA? You know, that's speculative. I can't give a clear answer whether the retention rate would be 60% or 80%. I know we have a lot of folks that love the building, but I wouldn't want to speculate again, you know, how significant or how high that percentage might be.
Has there been some written communication to your members that you can share with us so we know what is being said to members, or?
Well, right now, the board hasn't authorized us to say anything other than we're closing October 31st. I think by virtue of the fact that this has become, you know, people have become aware through the media, that's certainly been very much a topic of discussion throughout the YMCA, and so our members certainly know of the ongoing discussions with the village. But again, being able to predict, you know, what they will do if the village were to step in and operate the facility is hard to
Hal,
determine.
why don't you come up here, because I got to play lawyer with you, you know, so. Okay. Want to raise your right hand? Yeah, I'm only kidding. Here, what's your best thought tonight, or what's your marching orders? What would you like to get out of these two boards tonight?
Setting aside the fact that you need to further review the financial information, I'd like for the boards to come to a common view that there's enough interest to pursue some sort of indicative agreement, whether that's a term sheet or letter of intent, as a demonstration that there's a process underway that will enable us as the management team to go to our board and get this discussion, ready to make a quick move on. As Jim said, every day that goes by,
Okay.
it becomes more challenging. So
What's your sense of where your board is gonna, if we do, let's say we do a term agreement?
Yeah.
You know, what senses do you have, since you're representing the board, you're their alter ego, you're their proxy? Okay, what is your sense, what position are they gonna take? Is that gonna change anything?
in terms of keeping it open past October 31st?
Yeah.
Yes. I think if there's very much a real expression of interest from the village and the Park District, I think they very much will consider keeping it open past October 31st.
All right.
Then why
So-
aren't they here telling us? Why aren't they here telling us that? I'm ready to call this meeting off. I'm done. It's a lack of respect. They should have been here. They should be here negotiating
Well,
and
yeah,
talking with
well.
all of us. at
We,
once.
as the YMCA, we'd very much like the village and the Park District to become the owners of the building and to operate it as a Park District facility. The board has indicated that it no longer is capable of being operated as a YMCA.
Yeah.
To the extent that the village and the Park District aren't interested in operating it, it becomes
Well,
available
let's
to
go
a public sale.
We can go into closed session and find out the magic number from, the mouthpiece, proxy, alter ego of the board. So let's go do it. We go into, yeah. Yes, you could, well, throw the mic at that lady, within reason. Don't hit her with it, but, State your name for the record, please.
Hi, my name is Karen Lang. I'm a Vernon Hills resident.
Yeah.
I've never been to a board meeting before, so I don't know if this is on topic. But one thing you haven't, I understand the financial issues. One thing you haven't addressed is the aquatic program. And I am a handicapped individual. I swim at the Y 4 days a week. The majority of my class, as my instructor will testify, has some kind of chronic ailments, and we need desperately a year-round pool. As much as, it's vital for people who have any kind of hip replacement. I have lupus.
Sure.
It's vital for us.
Well, in all honesty, that's going back in time, and some of my board members were on the board when we got involved in this process. That's one of the reasons we embraced and assisted, the folks that were, going to run the YMCA to build it there, and we facilitated the cost per the land. It was like about $1 a square foot, which was, if you could buy it for $1 now, I'd jump all over it like the smell, Anyway, I digress. But, it was a component. We didn't have an indoor pool. You got a pool at the high school, but, obviously the high school's using it. You need something that's there, around the clock. And the same thing with the daycare. And those two components, in all honesty, was what made me keep going to meetings and trying to help this happen, and it did. And, I'm saddened by the fact that, it didn't work out, but, that's why we're here. We're not here if we didn't have good intentions. It's just, it's not our money we're gonna spend. You know what I mean? This is the community's money, and, that's the bottom line. We can't just say, oh, don't worry about a thing. We don't know what the price tag is even. Do we? Do we have a solid number that will, okay, this will be now operated by the Park District, and we'll own it, and the Park District will pay us back over X number of years, and everything's great. If it's $5 million, I doubt if it would happen. If it's, something 2 or less, I think it would happen post haste. But, you know what I mean? If it's 3 or 4, it's a lot of dough, and without going to referendum or floating bonds. I mean, you know, just to go to our strategic reserve and say, okay, and the only person we got to satisfy is the bank.
Well, yes, but the bank is mindful of what market value is, and market value,
Well,
to some extent, is subjective, but you, I believe, have initiated an appraisal of the building that will compare, you know, available properties that have
Well,
sold in this area.
I don't want to go out on a limb,
Yeah.
but if they think they're going to use that for anything else besides a public institutional facility, because of whatever they perceive the zoning to be, they're in for a real rude awakening.
Well, let me
The
ask you.
bank, you know what I mean? That isn't land, we're just going to arbitrarily let somebody sell off and call it, you know, a business park use.
And I'd be glad to add it.
You want to, you know,
is-
not with the time and effort we went into to put that land in play for the price that you paid for it. So if
And-
these are
and I have-
prejudicial comments, I don't care.
No.
But the importance is, this is to be used for public use. And if they, you know, anyway, that's great. I know how banks think. They're kind of archaic and they're not real aggressive and they're, you know, kind of a disappointment to a lot of people right now.
I will
So,
add is that it is correct. You can add what the appraisal is. In fact, be honest, I'm there. I can be glad to sell you a piece of property, what it was appraised for. But be honest with you, I'm not going to get the
Right.
money for it.
It's like my house, you know? I mean,
and
it was
and
appraised at 425,000
serious
before
on
the
this
crash,
because
and
I'm
now I'd be lucky if I get
Doing something now.
275.
So what the bank has it appraised for is one thing. Having a buyer is another. And unfortunately,
Well,
You've gotta have a
and
buyer.
what absolutely, a bank's appraisal is not necessarily going to be a great representation of what market value is. We've, in addition to having a bank appraisal, which we, as management and the board, thought was very, very high, we asked a broker to give us a broker's opinion of value as another data point, which came in significantly less than that.
Okay, so what number are we even thinking about
Well,
settling on for this letter, you know, this term letter?
that's a number that you have to decide. I can't tell you what.
Well, I mean,
we're gonna
don't you have any values placed on the building? Is it $2 million and then Waukegan's 4?
It's an opinion of value that a broker we engaged provided to us.
What was the opinion?
The opinion was $2.25 million.
For Verdon Hills?
Yes.
Okay.
Hal, we've talked at length about what you need from us. And I appreciate that. I want to talk about what we need from you. And that is, your board needs to make a decision. Are they closing? Are they not closing? Are they going to do this fundraiser or are they not? Because until they make that decision, we're sitting on the outside looking in. And every day we sit on the outside, your membership gets nervous.
Yeah.
Your membership starts to leave. And that is the value to this community.
All right.
And if they continue to walk out the door, I don't care what the building's worth, they're not going to get pennies for it.
Okay, so, well, let's do this. Okay. Can we go to closed session now, Bob? Would that be appropriate?
Yes, both of the boards.
Before I, you know, say something I'll regret for the rest of my life? No, I'm only kidding.
There may be someone else in the public that wants to speak
Okay,
before we do that.
by all means. Okay, Mr. Public, you got the floor. You want to just state your name, please, for the record?
Mark Alexander, I live in Vernon Hills.
Yeah, I recognize you.
I also go to the Y. So
Yeah.
I provide, the gentleman over here was talking about the Y. I can vouch for my wife swims. I'm a weightlifter and do cardiovascular.
Yeah.
I can vouch that the pool on an annualized basis was looked at. I can also tell you on the other side, from a person who attends perspective, there also was an issue this past summer in terms of the air conditioning not being on for 4 days, which to me would raise a flag. That said, though, the reason why I'm here tonight is I'm in favor of the village purchasing the Y, provided there aren't any skeletons in there. But that said, and obviously the financial issue is a big issue, and in terms of his agreement to work together with you. But the concern I'm having is with the members going going away as each day goes by.
Right.
And not having a decision. And the concern I also have is integrating the Park District and the, together and doing it in a way that makes sense. And by that, I'm meaning give you a quick story in terms of myself. I have 3 boys. I've been going to the Y for 10 years. When we first started, it was great. As the kids got in the middle ages, it was a problem. And the reason why it was a problem, we would all go to the Y together, and it's great for little kids, but not for 4th through 8th grade, because there isn't the gym for them to play with, and yes, there's the Park District, but it's a whole other building, and you want to all be together, and there's something to be said for being in a single place. In addition, I was the one who made comments yesterday in terms of weightlifting, having where you're on top of each other, and I think that's a problem. I think there's been some issues in terms of management that there are little things that I'd like to see improved upon, whether it's having toilet paper in the rooms, whether it's having where it's mopped and clean. And those are little things, but I bring it to your attention that it impacts member satisfaction and it impacts people wanting to stay there. I do know that some other members have also commented, when we have conversations, what are you doing? Are you staying, are you going, da-da. That in terms of the weight room and liking to see some additional weights, exercises like for the back because they have nothing there, and some other amenities like that. No place is perfect, and the why hasn't been, but like Hal mentioned, I think one of the biggest reasons that I've gone is convenience and affordability. And I think, and I agree with his comments on that, because for me and some of the other members, it's on your way home. And as a community, I think it's a vital asset to have. And it encourages health and wellness, and I think that when it comes to membership, that's a key point, but I think that with from the local businesses, that one may also want to look in reaching out to businesses in the community, because insurance costs are going through the roof, and saying, hey, we're a local asset here, and having programs that can work with them in terms of reducing their insurance costs, reducing employee costs.
The wellness programs and all that,
Exactly, and
yeah.
I think that's something that if one takes a proactive look, which a business would tend to do, but no offense, but I think a lot of times the government doesn't do, and I think that's something that would be really positive for the community.
I'm not going to argue with you, because I really was instrumental in the supporting board members that are sitting up here to bring the Y to town in the first place, so.
No, I know that, and I know the sentiment. And the other thing is with the Y, to me, there's been limitations for middle-aged kids in terms of using it. It's been more the elderly or the very young. And one of the biggest reasons, and I complained to the Y when my kids were of that age, is that kids don't like swimming in lanes. They want to have open swimming. Because you only have 4 lanes, it's very limited where kids can swim. And it's the nature of the beast.
Well, you
But
may,
my wife loves
well, you might be like, looking to, for another pool, and that's probably a big capital.
Well, my kids are a lot older now,
Right.
in high school.
All right, Commissioner
Just sharing
Goodman.
with you some of the issues, and because when you look at integrating with the Park District, I think that it's pulling it together,
Right.
getting synergies that make for a better program for everybody.
Well, and you might be happy if that comes to fruition, Jermaine, I know Commissioner Robbins, but that there might be a break even for membership, potentially.
What do you mean a break even?
Well, no, a break on what it costs for the members.
Oh, yeah.
Whatever that means.
One of the
I don't want to, speculate on that, but I mean,
Well, one of the comments my wife made, which I think has some legitimacy, is that with the YMCA, one of the things that's nice about it is that a lot of the things are included in the membership. As an example, with the swimming, with the workout, and with the traditional paradigm with the Park District is everything is a la carte. So you don't necessarily get as much together, and I think that's an issue that needs to be.
well, that's why I'm opening this up to you. Well, let me get to Commissioner Robbins. I know you had a slide on for a while.
Just, I have a question for Hal. Have you gotten a commitment from the bank that will allow you to continue past October 31st?
Well, we got more than one mic in there, you know.
The bank has repeatedly expressed that we bring them an option, and they will let us know if that's something that they will agree to. However, that being said, we wouldn't move forward, we wouldn't execute from our perspective any sort of term sheet or letter of intent unless, one, the board obviously has to support it, and two, we feel comfortable that the bank will support it as well, or has supported it, and we can provide some sort of indication that that's to be the case.
Okay.
Can I just make one final comment, Mayor?
Oh, yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
What I want to say is, you know, the YMCA has tried to have a successful, financially viable operation here in Vernon Hills. For a variety of reasons that we've explained, we haven't been successful. But I think this is a real opportunity for the village and the Park District to continue to have an asset that's very valuable to the community. I think, frankly, at this point, it's more about, you know, Vernon Hills and their interest in maintaining it than helping the Y. And I hope you all will recognize that value. And obviously, it has to make sense from an economic point of view. But again, I just want to express this as an opportunity for the village and the Park District.
Okay, Jeff?
Yeah, I just wanted to kind of follow up with Mark's comment about our programs being à la carte. Our fitness membership is exactly in very similar to what exists with the YMCA's. It's $250 a year. It includes use of our fitness room. All fitness classes are included in that, as they are at the Y. In addition, you know, use of the gymnasium. So we do offer a couple thousand programs a year, but in terms of the comparison with the Y, with the fitness membership, it's a couple $100 less. We just don't have a swimming pool. But I just wanted to make that comment.
Okay. All right. Well, is there a motion? How are you going to, we're two separate motions. Okay. Is there a motion for the village board to go into closed session to discuss what, the term sheet?
Well,
Land acquisition?
Land acquisition.
Building acquisition?
Land acquisition, I think we should say that would be with an intent to return and take action. Whether or not we get to a point where we would take action is yet to be seen.
Right.
But
So made.
Second.
Motion and a second. Roll call.
Sorry, who's seconded?
Take your pick, Mike or I, either one.
Tom and myself.
Okay. Trustees Cook,
Aye.
Markwart,
Aye.
Schultz,
Aye.
Schwartz,
Aye.
Williams,
Motion
Hebda?
carries.
Abstain.
Okay.
With that, could I have a motion for the Vernon Hills Park District to recess and convene in closed session pursuant to Section 2C1 of the Open Meetings Act, 2C5 of the Open Meetings Act to consider the purchase of YMCA property located at 700 Lakeview Parkway in Vernon Hills for the use of the Vernon Hills Park District, and that representatives of the Vernon Hills present at this meeting will be invited to participate in the portion of the closed session as determined by Park District Commissioners.
I moved.
Second?
Second.
Roll call?
I'll take them into conference room.
What do you got?
Commissioner Robbins,
Yes.
Commissioner
Who do I
Baloo,
take them into conference?
President Durhofer.
Yes.
Whoever
8:14,
wants
we
to
are
stay.
adjourned to closed session.
Yeah. Right, well.
President Durhofer.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, is there a motion to reconvene our board? I thought we already did that.
we did.
Yeah.
We're back in session. Yeah.
Right.
We're done.
All right.
9.
The press is still here other than the patch?
Go back in.
Is, oh, yeah.
Jeff, do you want a roll call for open session?
Closed session. Okay.
Jeff?
Are you here?
You want a roll call for open session? Hmm?
We don't, do we do it, Tom? We haven't done it so long.
He's just going
Yes, sir.
He can just reconvene.
Yeah, you can just reconvene the
Okay.
meeting.
Reconvene.
Yeah, he did.
Okay, so we're in.
Okay,
Okay.
That's the easiest.
we're here to discuss the, I don't know if it's actually a term sheet, but it's a
Expression of interest.
Letter of interest.
letter of interest to the YMCA, do we include their bank in this, or is it just something to the Y?
Well, I think it's directed to the Y. They'll take it to their lender.
Right. Okay, and the agreed upon amount to be offered, or well, however we're phrasing the damn letter, which we don't have in front of us yet, it's $1.4 million.
Subject to inspections, conditions, and
Due diligence.
due diligence.
You need a motion?
We need a motion for our board, right? And-
Motion to direct staff,
Did that.
okay, sorry.
It's all right.
To direct staff, though, to create a letter of intent outlining.
What's a letter of interest?
Letter of interest, excuse me, in the amount of $1.4 million to the YMCA, subject to all the necessary due diligence conditions
Typical to a commercial transaction.
typical to a commercial transaction.
There's a motion, is there a second? Motion is second, if no further comments or questions, roll call.
Trustees Schultz,
Aye.
Schwartz,
Aye.
Williams,
Aye.
Hebda, Cook,
Aye.
Markwart,
Aye.
Mayor Byrne.
Aye, motion carries.
On behalf of the Vernon Hills Park District Board of Commissioners, could I have a motion to direct Executive Director Fujuru and our council, Charlene Holtz, to also work with the village to create a letter of interest in the amount of $1.4 million, specifying due diligence to a typical commercial transaction, subject to all the terms and conditions.
So moved.
Second? Discussion? Roll call.
Commissioner Robbins?
Yes.
Commissioner Baloo?
Yes.
President Durhofer?
Yes, motion carried.
Okay, any other business that we got to discuss today with the board?
Just a technicality, even though trustee Hebda is not here, do we make sure that's on the record that she's not here?
She asked me to call, I'm going to call her and let her know what happened.
No,
The
I'm on
close-
the record.
the close-
She is not here.
Yes.
We
Right.
make sure that's in the minutes.
Well, oh,
Yes.
yeah, I'm sorry.
Thank
I
you.
didn't understand.
The,
Well, earlier during the board meeting, she,
She was
you know,
here.
recused herself.
Right.
You know.
which is why she wasn't in attendance during the closed session.
But she could have been out there and came back in.
Yes. And she
Okay,
chose not to.
if I was out there, I
The,
wouldn't come back.
I was trying to get out.
Okay,
Do we need to discuss a tentative intergovernmental agreement?
I don't think we need to do that tonight. I think that we
We
now.
do or we don't?
We do not need to do that
Thank you.
tonight. We've got enough in order to draft the letter to get the Y going. In the meantime, we can work amongst
We-
ourselves to do that.
can we just recess this special meeting in case we got to come back into session in 2 days?
We have a board meeting in 2 days.
Or 3 days?
Well,
We can walk across the street.
I'm just asking.
Well, it's a good thought because we're on the fast track. If the
Yeah,
park
we could
board
do
is, if the park
Because we
board
don't
meet.
have a board meeting next Tuesday.
That is correct.
I cannot be here.
Thursday.
for sure.
Well, we're not, we might be here, you know.
We've got a board meeting Thursday,
Right
Yeah.
across the street.
Yeah.
so we'll be in the neighborhood.
You want to do
probably-
one later to make sure they're here 8 o'clock?
Well, we got a 48-hour notice.
Yeah, it's not gonna happen tonight.
Well, why don't what's the big deal if we just recess?
Okay,
But
That's
you gotta-
clean.
Don't you have to recess it to a specific
Right.
date?
No.
Before we
Technically, no.
do the recess, I guess I just have a question concerning the letter that the Park District is drafting. Really, that's a letter to the village that you're in support of our.
I would say,
purchase.
I'm sorry to interrupt. I would
Yeah.
say it's a joint letter of the village and the park board to the YMCA.
Yeah.
All right,
And then if there is a willingness to pursue that, then we'll work out the arrangement amongst ourselves.
step one before step two.
Right, no, I just wanted that clarity, because I don't want you to think that you're getting two offers that total.
Oh, there's,
No.
no, this letter will clarify that. You know, if I got to, you know, you know, Dave and I are signing this thing.
If that conception's out there, it will be disproved very quickly.
But I don't want any
Well,
missteps here
Ambiguity.
or lack of clarity.
Well, this is done collectively by the park board and the village board. You know, it's being done in good faith to try to keep this facility operating and a, you know, a vibrant, you know, institution for people to use, whether it's the daycare, whether it's the swimming, whether it's the workout rooms, so on and so forth. So it remains a, you know, a nice, very good recreational amenity, but also the daycare is a very important component to the families that have children, you know, that
what are we gonna do?
need that service.
Are we getting together Thursday night?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, then
Oh,
we'll
no,
recess.
what do you mean?
Just-
Our meeting isn't until, the LASAT meeting's not till the middle of November.
Oh, with the,
Yeah. What do you think we're doing this
I
Thursday?
don't know, I've got something popped up
Do we
on
got
my
a meeting
calendar.
this Thursday, Mike?
No, we don't.
No, the seventh.
So
That's why I wanted to just
Right.
recess our meeting.
But could we, you know, I'll just ask for a personal favor. Could we do it later at night? I got,
I don't
if I
really
need to be,
care.
Bob's gonna be out of town.
We might not be doing anything.
No, I understand that,
Yeah.
but, so, we could recess and then
to a time and
time
place on
certain,
Thursday.
could we say 8 o'clock Thursday night?
If that's, well, what do we gotta do? We gotta
We
come and
maybe
meet
don't
again?
have to do anything, but depending on what kind of response, again, as was mentioned, we're
Right.
fast tracking this thing.
Do we have to come?
Do we have to come Thursday night at 8 o'clock?
You mean if there's no
To
subject? to be
continue it
dealt with?
again?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hell, you
Unless
You'd have
we
to
want-
have a quorum, right?
Or,
Establish a quorum?
or we could we could recess it till Thursday, and then tomorrow we can you can tell us now when another special meeting could be in the beginning of next week.
Right.
So that we could have both those dates possibility. Maybe one question to Hal is it feasible in your mind that if we have an expression of interest that we give you, and you get it tomorrow, that it could get to your board and to the lender and back here by Thursday?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes. I just wanted to ask the question with respect to the offer. Was there a discussion of, or does it stipulate that the Park District continues or will provide the entirety of services, or is there any consideration that the Y might continue to provide services?
Well, right now, in my mind, the expression is that the Y is going to continue the services because that's that's integral to this offer. Now,
I think, before you go further,
Are we-
clarify your question.
Short-term, long-term.
I'm not referring to the 3-month period where you conduct due diligence or the 2-month period. I'm referring to, in the long term, are you anticipating that this is strictly a Park District facility with all services operated by the Park District?
Yes.
Yes.
With one caveat, in that if we close prior to the time that the Park District has a license to operate a daycare facility, that there may be an interim
Well, yeah,
requirement.
Then we would need to lease the facility back to the Y so that they could operate it while we get the DCFS certifications.
That's true. Is that what
Okay.
you're
Yeah,
looking for?
we've,
That's the clarity I was looking for, yes.
Jeff?
yeah, in answer to your question, Jim, we've spoken to David Washington from DCFS this morning, and the transition would be a smooth one in terms of our application process of when the closing would occur. Let's say if the closing is Feb 28, March 1, we would assume that license. So there wouldn't be any delay in the transition from us to operating it as a DCFS certified.
But I think the
facility.
question is,
Yep.
when would we be able to take that transition? Is that,
Yeah, I mean, if we could consummate this deal before, say, even a February date, but a
January?
December date.
Yep.
His comment to me was, it's not something that could happen within 60 days.
So
with
there-
with the log jam. Now, I think there's some, some things we can hopefully do with our boards to work with some of our constituents in the area to hopefully speed that process up. So that's all I can say to
Well,
that,
and I
you know.
think along those lines, it's critical too that the personnel that would operate the daycare are also certified, right?
Yes, they are.
Which they are.
Yeah.
Well,
And-
right.
and our
But you
intention-
don't have any people.
We don't have
Our
any
intention is
plans
to keep
of
everyone-
Yeah,
changing
and
that.
the intentions is to keep those folks going. you
Yes.
know.
Right, would the offer stipulate that you need to retain, a certain percentage of childcare or anybody else?
I don't think that was our discussion, but, they haven't drafted the letter yet.
I think that would, if there's an acceptance of the concept, then I think we can come back together and put the meat on the bones of that pretty quickly. But, at this stage, it was an expression of interest with the price to see if there was even a deal to be made.
We need the discussion to get going quickly and elevate, and that's what we're doing.
And if we meet again, you might want to bring the bank. Somebody.
Yeah, understood.
What do we got to make sure they got their passport?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
We're good?
All right, I don't know what else to add tonight. We're going to get this letter out and
Yeah,
we'll
Bob's
have it in
drafted
your hands tomorrow sometime,
yeah.
I've got a
already
draft, I've
drafted.
got to circulate it. Charlene hasn't even had a chance to read it yet, but
All right.
we ought to be able to get that available by tomorrow morning.
Okay.
Motion to recess the village board meeting until 8 PM Thursday, October 25th?
Is that right? 25th, yeah. Or 24th.
Thursday, the 25th.
Yeah.
Today's the
Oh, that's right.
23rd, and it is Tuesday.
Okay.
You're right.
+1 + 1 is 5.
Is there any other comments or questions?
But what time, 12 o'clock or 9?
Huh?
No.
Anybody? Okay, roll call.
So, who was second?
Second.
Oh, sorry.
I didn't think.
You were now.
Trustees Schwartz,
Aye.
Williams, Hebda, Cook,
Aye.
Markwart.
Aye.
Schultz.
Aye.
Mayor Burke.
Motion carries.
On behalf of the Park District, motion to recess the Vernon Hills Park District Board of Commissioners meeting until Thursday night, the 25th, at 8 o'clock. Second. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Robbins? Yes. Commissioner Blue? Yep. President Durhofer?
Yes, we are recessed.
Okay, thank you
all.
and good night. No more business will be conducted by these boards. Steve?